Yeah, but is it a Jersey government thing? This is what, or is it a cultural thing? Is it a BBC thing? Because the BBC told me yesterday was the effect that the story is about Jimmy Savile and suspects being in positions of power where they can still harm possibly children and vulnerable people has been mentioned before. So they just didn't seem to get it. The BBC just didn't seem to get that this should be about protecting our children. Is this a BBC thing? Is it a Jersey thing? Is it a paedophile thing? What is it with this culture that they're not looking to protect the children?
No, and I think I think Graham Power alluded somewhere to the difference between the response of the UK authorities and the response of the Jersey authorities, and I think you can maybe look at that within the BBC as well. I think that the BBC in the UK apparently putting out a panorama programme tonight, which is a fairly searching examination of how many people in the BBC knew information about Savile's activities and either didn't bother or didn't feel able to say something. Now, there needs to be the same self-examination of the media, by the media in Jersey, because all the evidence that has emerged in respect of the abuse in Jersey, and indeed of the attempts that the government have made to cover it up, and outside the government, looking at some of the senior figures in the legal system as well, no spotlight is fallen on that, despite the evidence being there for everybody to see. I mean, the evidence, there's massive amounts of evidence on your own blog, on Rico Sorda's blog, on Stuart Sibley's blog, massive amounts of evidence here, and it's all been ignored. And again, you can imagine the absolute furor if somebody had gone on national TV or radio yesterday in the United Kingdom and said there are still people serving in the childcare system who the police had huge amounts of evidence and intelligence that they were abusing children. There would be an almighty row this morning, and I get the sense from what you're saying is that there's not that almighty row in Jersey.
No, the big news over here is that you asked for an independent police force. That's the big news. The fact that there's still suspects doesn't. I just think it could be a BBC thing. We've got to remember, and I don't know if you read anything into this, the BBC were given the 62,000 word statement that by the former Chief Police Graham Power. Well, it wasn't given by him, it was leaked to the BBC. They've had it for over a year, and now I'm sure you've read it. It's on Stuart Sibley's blog. It's damning. Why would the BBC want to keep that covered up? Have you got any ideas?
Well, it's a totally damning indictment of the political system in Jersey in respect of the way it tries to control policing. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and it contains well evidenced incidents of shoddy and corrupt behaviour by politicians in Jersey, something of which I've got a lot of experience myself. I mean, there's so much evidence there that the media in Jersey, as you call it, the state media in Jersey, have not featured and have not looked at. Now, the reason for that, I'm not sure. I'm quite sure there are many honest reporters among the BBC and other media outlets in Jersey who would like to get at that, but somebody and people behind the scenes are stopping them. And I suppose one example of that yesterday was the screaming down the phone when I started to criticise the government, and in particular the Home Affairs Minister, and the producer screaming down the headphones of Chris Stone, the producer, saying, "What about the Committee of Inquiry? What about the Committee of Inquiry?" And I think I didn't hear it too clearly, but I understand that she was telling Chris Stone to point out that Ian Lamarcon supported the Committee of Inquiry, and I'm not quite sure that's right, actually. I seem to remember being told and reading somewhere that he actually voted against it.
He did. That's it. There's incorrect information again from the BBC. This is where Ian Lamarcon, our Home Affairs Minister, because you were saying yesterday that he's been obstructive, he's been obtrusive, he's been a hindrance to anything, and we did hear it. It was quite comical, really, because it's a bit of a shame that he supported a Committee of Inquiry when in fact he didn't. He did vote against the Committee of Inquiry.
Yeah, and I suppose also staying on the Jersey media, if you look, ITV were the station which ran the original expose on Jimmy Savile, and they are the ones to have, in many ways, set the agenda for the current sort of line of investigations. The Channel Television in Jersey, which after all is part of the ITV franchise, has remained conspicuously silent in all of this. I don't think I've had even an email or a message from them, and I've had it from most radio stations. But Channel TV, and of course Channel TV were the ones to publish that bag of lies in respect of the expenses during the abuse inquiry. Did their best to discredit the abuse inquiry, did their best to give a false impression in many, many ways, didn't do the victims any favours whatsoever. And here we have Channel TV, unless they've been broadcasting a lot of material in Jersey that I haven't seen, conspicuous by their silence. And again, this is another example where the media in Jersey are totally different in the response to sections of the media in the United Kingdom. And I sometimes wonder if it has to do with the local links that perhaps maybe some people on Channel TV have to the government there.
Well, that's because so you're saying Channel Television, an ITV franchise, plus the Jersey Evening Post, have they contacted you? Bearing in mind you were the senior investigating officer here, have they contacted you at all?
No, not a peep.
Do you reckon they've contacted Mick Gradwell?
Well, good luck to them if they can find him. Nobody else seems to be able to find him when they're offering him money to talk about corruption in the police or whatever. But when it comes to standing up and trying to support that press conference I held in 2008, which we all know now was absolute codswallop, when it comes to that, and when it comes to defending the nonsense that he leaked to the newspaper and the media in the UK, he's another one who is, to use the phrase again, conspicuous by his absence.
Indeed he is. Indeed he is. Now, is there anything we want to? This is about, and what it should be about. It shouldn't be about Jimmy Savile or so much the headlines. It should be about the victims, his victims, and the victims of child abuse. Is there anything you would want to say to the victims and survivors of the Jersey Hotel de Garenne and any other victims and survivors of abuse?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to hang on in there, because I think the world is beginning now to see the truth. But let's make one thing clear. The people who protected, who encouraged, who covered up for Jimmy Savile are the exact same people who were protecting, covering up, and doing their best to help escape justice those suspects that I was investigating in 2008. They are the same people who treated the victims disgracefully when they tried to report the abuse in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and were treated very, very badly by corrupt legal system and by some senior corrupt police officers. There's no doubt about that as well. I mean, the evidence for that is out there. And the tide is now beginning to turn. People are now beginning to see the truth. But these people who are now being put into the spotlight again because of Jimmy Savile need to be put into the spotlight again because of their activities in protecting those individuals who were abusing children within the Jersey care system. Everybody knows it was happening. Everybody knows it's inconceivable that the authorities did not know it was happening. And you just have to look at the contortions and the twists of the prosecuting authorities in Jersey when we were trying to get cases brought to know that they knew very well that the evidence was there and that they had to do something to stop it from coming out. So my message to the victims is people are now beginning to see that you are the good guys in all of this. Hang on in there. The truth is coming out. It might have taken a sensationalized TV program about Jimmy Savile to make people stop and think, but they are stopping and thinking now, and the spotlight is turning on those crooked and corrupt people in Jersey who have done so much to keep the truth from coming out and to keep justice away from the victims who deserve it and who hopefully in the very near future will get it.